prelude to American Revolution. The Navigation Acts of 1651. They were passed in the 17th and 18th century, restricted foreign trade, forcing the colonies to colonial trade with Great Britain. The acts were efforts to put the theory of mercantilism, which was the theory of trade by the major European powers.
The salutary neglect. Britain's unofficial policy, led by Prime Minister Robert Walpole. It violated the Navigation Act and it did not believe in enforcing them. It was established by Oliver Cromwell and Charles II. Helped the colonists because it made the colonies feel more independent.
Proclamation of 1763. The Proclamation of 1763 was issued on October 7th by King George II after the British invasion of French territory. After the end of the French and Indian War, it put a line along the Appalachian Mountains in North Africa. The colonists could not settle past the Appalachian Mountains, and they couldn't go west of them either.
The Sugar Act. On April 5, 1764, Parliament passed the Sugar Act to raise money to equal 1/5 of the military expenses in North America. It also lowered the duty on foreign produced molasses. The Sugar Act complicated trade for the American shippers as well.
Sons of Liberty. The Sons of Liberty was an organization of American colonists. This secret society was formed to protect the rights of the colonists and to fight taxation by the British government. In 1765, a group of people who called themselves the Loyal Nine began preparing for argument against the Stamp Act.
The Stamp Act. The act to pay tax on every piece of printed paper they used paid for 7 years' war. It hit with 3 major acts prior. The Sugar Act of 1764, the Currency Act of 1764, and the Quartering Act of 1765. Declared the rights of grievances. Autocratic policies of mercantilism by the British Empire.
Quartering Act. The Quartering Act was passed on March 24, 1765. It required the colonies to house British soldiers in barracks provided by the colonies. The Quartering Act is a name given to 2 acts of the British Parliament and the local government of the American colonies to provide the soldiers with needed accommodations or housing.
The Boston Massacre. It occurred on March 5, 1770. Street fight between British soldiers and Patriot fighters. British troops shot and killed 3 colonists on the spot. 2 died later from gunshot wounds. Captain Thomas Preston, along with 8 men, were arrested for manslaughter. This is the reason why troops were withdrawn from Boston.
The Gaspee Affair was on June 9, 1772. Gaspee was sent to enforce maritime trade laws annoyed the people of Rhode Island. Sons of Liberty lured the ship, shot and wounded the commanding officer, captured the crew, and set fire to the boat. King George III was furious. No one knew anything about it when it was called to trial.
The Tea Act. Tea Act occurred December 16, 1773, the final straw for the colonists. This granted East India Company Tea a monopoly on tea sales in America, meant to bail out this company. It also used in order to maintain Parliament's rights to tax the colonies. It ultimately compelled the Sons of Liberty to take action against Great Britain.
The Boston Tea Party. Sons of Liberty dressed as Mohawk Indians and threw 992,000 pounds of tea into the harbor. Wearing Indian clothes represented the fact that the American colonies identified themselves as Americans and not British subjects. About 116 Americans participated.
The Intolerable Acts. Series of British laws passed by parliaments to punish those who participated in the Boston Tea Party. 5 Intolerable Acts. The first was Boston Port Act, Administration of Justice Act, Massachusetts Act, Quartering Act, and Quebec Act. These acts represented an attempt to reimpose British control over the colonies.
The First Continental Congress was on September 5th through October 26, 1774. Delegates from 12 colonists met in Carpenter's Hall, Philadelphia. Some important people who went to this included John and Samuel Adams and George Washington. The First Continental Congress was called to unite colonies against British oppression. The Declaration of Rights and Articles of Association were issued. This Congress led to the second one, and in the same one came the Declaration of Independence.